Welcome back to another episode Between Two Clouds. I'm Danny Hunt. Our guest today is Stan Yarbrough. Stan is a VP of Engineering Solutions here at Opex. Stan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Danny, for the invite. Glad to be here.
Glad that you're here. So, Stan, next week is our fishing tournament.
That's right.
I know you've been with us a couple of times as a client, but this will be your first time on the other side of the fence.
Yep.
What's your experience been like? You looking forward to it?
Of course, it's always a good time. Throughout my life, I've never been really good at fishing, and not really sure why. Maybe it's a patience thing, but I can tell you that if the apocalypse happens and I get assigned fishing, we're all starving. I'm not very good at it. However, it seems like every time I go to the Opex event, I do pretty well. Caught, pretty big fish, whatever the fish was. I have no idea what kind it was. I think it was a red something or another.
Yep.
Don't really care. Never, really cared about what types of fishes are caught, but it's a lot of fun. And what it really is an opportunity, for like-minded folks to come together to do good things for clients.
Yep. Stan, I don't think you and I should be in the same boat because you and I are in the same boat on your fishing position. So
yeah,
no, it's good to know that I'm not the only person out there with a similar perspective.
I'm worse, I guarantee it.
So besides being a certified sniper, who is Stan?
Yeah, I'm not a certified sniper. That's my catch. On the two
truth and a lie.
Truth and a lie. That's it. I've got a standard one there. One is, I've been to North Korea, which is true. I was in the military and had a chance to go over to North Korea and Panmunjom briefly. And one of them is, that I'm a, certified sniper. And, the other is that, I played in a metal band in the 80s. And all those things are true except for the sniper thing. Okay. But because I'm so serious and I have this deadpan humor, people are like, yeah, this guy could take somebody out. He's probably qualified to do it.
I still believe you, even though you told me that it's a lie.
It might be true. I couldn't tell you.
So tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah, I've been in this business a long time. I've 35 so years. Started in the military and worked through a career that's been focused mainly on infrastructure and putting the right components together to build a capability that the business can leverage to make money. I mean, that's really what it's about. And there are so many aspects to it. It's really complicated. And that's the one thing I think throughout my career has been consistent. And I'm sure most everybody who's had this experience has the same view. It never stops growing and it never stops changing, and it's impossible to keep up with everything. So it's a challenge, right? It's really a challenge to be good in this space. And it's really challenging to be good in this space and then be an advisor in this space. Doesn't necessarily mean that you know everything, but what you do know is a combination of your knowledge and your acumen and, your gut, essentially, to make the appropriate, recommendations or make, the right decisions, if you're a manager. But it all comes down to relationships. If you don't have the right relationships, you don't have the open ear. And most of these things that you learn along the way in that complexity really is about building relationships and negotiating what you will and won't do and what you should and shouldn't do.
Yep. Nope. It's a great perspective. And it's a big reason why I love this place. So speaking of staying current, let's run through a couple of current topics. I heard you talking a little bit about it yesterday. Let's start with Broadcom, VMware. What happened there?
Yeah. Some interesting things have happened with Broadcom. Obviously, they bought VMware. And depending on where you are, depending on your perspective, you may have an opinion. That opinion is probably going to be biased, okay, from an experience that you've had, a relationship that you have with Broadcom, VMware, with a sales process or something like that. It's very convoluted. Even though they've stated some things, like, for instance, the licensing process has changed dramatically, right? And I think that many of the people that are dealing with this are struggling with it. And then recently, they've also made this decision that they're going to limit the number of cloud service providers that are going to be able to operate their software in a services model. So these changes are huge, and it would be something else if VMware wasn't a very important strategic part of many businesses.
Yeah.
There aren't too many replacements for VMware. I know that there are a few out there, that claim to have that capability. I think at the hypervisor level, that may be true. But what Broadcom has done is it's limited the SKU down to basically one core with its entire cloud stack. And they're going head to head in the cloud business. That's what they're doing. And if you don't go along, and kind of, accept the fact that that's the strategy, you can be left behind, and it can be a very disruptive event for your company.
Yeah, I heard you make the comment yesterday about the CSPs and the change and how much that pool has shrunk from where it was even just a year ago. That's pretty wild. So speaking of the CSPs, what are they doing about it?
Yeah. So the CSPs now, there are two, right? There are two types. There are those that are in the program, and those have been reduced or deselected from the program. So it's hard to tell exactly what the deselected CSPs are up to right now. There are lots of different options, but the one option that they don't have is to continue hosting services after March of 2027 and taking on new business after October 31st this year. So there are some deadlines here. Now, exactly what that means, it's open to interpretation, but the rules are pretty clear. There are some things that you can and can't do as a deselected service provider. The selected providers are basically trying to figure out how they're going to take on this workload and figure out how to accommodate the displaced clients are going to be looking for their help. So there's a lot of activity in this space. Here's what I'll tell you about this. It's really, since it's so convoluted and there's so many players in this, it's not entirely possible for everybody to be giving you the exact correct answer about what you should do. And each person, each party in this process has some type of interest. And whether or not you have a great relationship with Broadcom or your cloud service provider or your value-added reseller, it's going to be really hard not to get a biased opinion of what you should do. That's why it's very important to have an unbiased advisory capability in your back pocket to demystify and simplify what your real options are. And in some cases, where a renewal's on the table right now, it seems like you have no options other than to do what's asked of you. And most buyers are really not in the habit of giving vendors or whatever you want to call them what they ask for. Okay, they want to be able to negotiate, and there's a negotiation problem that arises in these situations very often. But it doesn't mean that it's not the right thing to do. VMware's product is superior. It's a very good product. It's really just a matter of how do you place it, how do you install it, how do you license it, where do you license it, and what do you use it for? Those are the things that IT professionals should be concentrated on, and not necessarily the purchasing portion of it. So having an advisory organization help you through that process and give you an option is a very, very powerful thing.
Yep. Again, love that perspective. So let's talk repatriation.
Yeah, this is a trend. This is a trend, and it's not a new trend, but it's starting to get some traction. And what repatriation really means is the idea of cloud first or SaaS first or those sorts of things, which, as IT professionals, we were trying to talk the business into 10 years ago of accepting. It's only been 10 years that we've really started making this cloud first type, approach. Now the idea is maybe we should be repatriating because the cloud, so to speak, is expensive. And unless you're doing a very, very good job at a detailed level, getting granular on a daily basis, tracking your workloads and understanding exactly how you're spending your money, it gets really tough. Even with a standard FinOps tool, and you do a great job with the FinOps tool, it really ends up being kind of a credit card statement at the end of the month. Then you spend the next month trying to figure out how to fix what you did last month so it doesn't happen again, and it usually ends up being a cycle. So unless you're really, really good at it, it's a problem, okay? So bringing those workloads back is called repatriation. So you're bringing them back. What does that mean? On site, on premise? No, nobody really wants to buy a bunch of, servers and stuff like that. I guess you could, but what repatriation means is bringing it back home, right? Bringing it back to your country. And that is an area that you control, not a public cloud. Public cloud is generally designed for cloud native applications. These workloads can run on a cloud service provider. And guess what? They're better at it than you are at FinOps, at running it, at making sure that you're getting all of the benefits from it. And VMware, Broadcom, whatever they call themselves, they know this. That's why they made these selections. These are the companies that can do it the best, represent the full stack as a full cloud solution under your control, and allow you to repatriate workload back out of the cloud into an area that you can control. That's what repatriation is all about. 7 out of 10 CIOs have this on their radar. It is a point of strategy, 100%.
I appreciate you sharing that. So you talked a little bit about control. Private AI, sort of a new term that I'm hearing a lot these days. Talk a little bit about what that means.
Well, the first thing when we started going to cloud 10 years ago or more ago, when we started really talking about private or public cloud, the big concern is, hey, is this secure? We have the same issue with AI. It's growing so quickly. Everybody's kind of jumping on. Everybody's got, kind of a ribbon and a bow that says AI on their current products, that sort of thing. And the real question is, all right, I get the AI stuff that gets, put into programs that I might be using to help me do things better, either as a worker, maybe it's operational AI, that helps me troubleshoot things that are happening inside my infrastructure. All of those things are good. But when you start talking about me putting my intellectual property from my company into an ether someplace, and you tell me it's secure, I mean, you basically have two options, right? You can either trust that scenario, or you can decide to put a wall around it. And private AI is going to be the solution, already is. And the way that happens, a private AI can either be air-gapped, it can be a tenancy, it can be some kind of security mechanism that draws a line around the information that you're putting there. I think that Broadcom has stated, they started this about a year ago, and then just recently at Explorer, they've announced that this is a big deal for them. So Broadcom is making chips, okay? And now they have VMware, which allows you to have a very dense processing capability. And it just makes sense in the AI market for them to be latched onto a private AI architecture. And I think that's an offering that's going to be more necessary as we go forward. Right now, we're kind of dabbling in AI, even though some of the verticals are embracing it a lot, like healthcare and our unified communication systems. That those AI systems are already starting to reach maturity levels. But in these other areas that have not reached maturity, when it involves intellectual property and things that should not find its way to the internet or into a generalized AI sphere, private AI is going to be necessary.
Yeah, we're already starting to see the mandates. I know it's our approach, again, understanding the nature of the data and what guards you want to put around it. No, I appreciate you sharing that. Well, Stan, enjoyed nerding out with you a little bit here today. Love your insight and perspective on these things, and looking forward to doing a little fishing with you next week.
See you next week.
We'll
see you next week on the boat. Try not to fall off. That's what they tell me.
Awesome. Stan, appreciate you. Enjoy chatting with you.
Thanks, Danny. See you soon. Cheers.